Hello and welcome everyone. Today we are kicking off Cybersecurity Awareness Month with a special webinar from the team here at Cofense. My name is Carolyn Kushwa and I'm a marketing content specialist here at Cofense. I'm excited to be joined by Lee Martin, Cofense Senior Director of Product Management, and Beth Owenberger, Senior Content Developer. Today, Lee and Beth will be walking through some real-world examples of phishing threats and demonstrating how to combat them using a variety of proven training content. This year, Cofense has chosen the theme of Formula One for Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so you will notice that our slides today match that theme. Before we get started, a quick note on logistics. The session is being recorded and will be available on demand and on our website over the coming days. We encourage you to submit your questions throughout the discussion using the Q&A window on your console. If there are any questions we don't have time to address today, we will follow up with them via email after the webinar. And with that, let's just jump right in. Lee and Beth, take it away.
Thanks so much, Carolyn, and welcome everybody to today's webinar. Today, Beth and I are going to talk about a couple of different things, and we're going to try and keep this as conversational as possible because Beth has got a lot of great information for everybody that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about the current threat landscape a little bit. We're also going to talk about security awareness training and how best practices in the employment of a good SAT program can help you defend against that current threat landscape. We're going to give some details around some popular phishing email topics, and then we're going to make some great recommendations and examples. So as Carolyn said, my name is Lee Martin. I'm the Senior Director of Product Management for all things security awareness training at Cofense. That's PhishMe, our LMS, our training content, and our reporter services. And Beth, I'll let you introduce yourself real quick, and then we can jump in.
Sure. Hi, I'm Beth Orenberger, and I'm a senior content developer here at Cofense. And I've been creating educational content here at Cofense for nearly 10 years. And I love the challenge of taking something like security awareness training, which is a topic that doesn't always excite people, and trying to make it fun, relatable, and engaging so that people remember the information and can apply it in their everyday lives. And over the years, as our content has evolved, it's been exciting to see how we've incorporated new technologies and increased our creativity. And just like
Absolutely.
our content continues to evolve, so does the threat landscape. So that's why it's more important now than ever that we keep adapting and finding new ways to connect with learners and help them stay secure so they can protect themselves and their organizations.
So Beth, talk to us a little bit about email and where that sits in the threat landscape. We see here on the slide that email is still the #1 threat vector. How is that manifesting itself these days when there's all these other ways to get at somebody besides email?
Yeah, so email remains the #1 threat vector. And because email is so essential for day-to-day business operations, it really makes it a prime target for threat actors looking to exploit its vulnerabilities. Attackers are also using diverse communication channels as well, including voice, we call vishing for voice phishing, and SMS texting as well, we call smishing. So they're attacking from all different communication channels, and Cofense analysts have also observed an evolution in attacker tactics as well. With AI, threat actors have the power to automate malware development, scale attacks across industries, and personalize phishing messages with a real surgical precision.
So
And
so like any way to get at you, they're going to find a way to
yeah.
get at you, and AI is just making it easier, right?
Definitely. Yeah. And in 2024, the Cofense Phishing Defense Center saw on average one malicious email every 42 seconds. And a lot of these were polymorphic attacks as well.
So what exactly is a polymorphic attack for those folks who might not know?
Yeah, polymorphic phishing attacks continuously modify email subject lines, sender names and addresses, and email body content to avoid detection. So that makes them increasingly difficult to detect and even harder to stop with this level of sophistication.
So it's almost like spear phishing at scale. Is that
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, they're using this technology to be able to target people using social engineering techniques. They can use publicly available information about someone or an organization, like your hobbies, a recent purchase, vendors that your company uses to really create targeted email campaigns without doing all of the legwork that previously it was required to do. So using technology for that now.
Gotcha. Well, with all of these, this ongoing threat landscape evolution, are there any industries that are being targeted more than others?
Yeah, so we have a graph here of industries targeted, finance and insurance coming in at the top. We also have manufacturing, mining as well. And looking at this graph, the key here is redaction. So that means the phishing emails were customized for the recipient, often with tailored subject lines or attachments. So this level of personalization shows the attacker's sophistication and intent. And these aren't just broad spam campaigns. These are really targeted strategic attacks, often aimed at high value industries or roles.
So it's not just the days of the misspelled email with a wonky logo. These are a lot more difficult to just identify and face value. Would you say that it's just as important to look at the context of something than how it just appears in your mailbox?
Yeah, definitely. So in the past, we recommended looking for typos, weird formatting, obvious grammatical errors. And while that is still the case that those are present in phishing emails, the trend is going toward more towards the AI generated content where threat actors are able to use AI technology to be able to craft really realistic looking emails. And so we're not noticing as many typos. So we recommend looking at other indicators of a fish as well, one of them being considering the context as well.
Well, even when you have an email that looks super real, what are the main threat vectors that folks are dealing with in these types of phishing emails?
The top one is definitely credential phishing, which
Now, this has
attempts.
been true for a while, right? Credential phishing has
Yeah,
been out for a couple of years now.
definitely. And credential phishing, so our team put together statistics looking at what are the most popular types of phishing emails they're seeing this year. And year to date, credential phishing is coming in at 67% of the phishing emails analyzed. And credential phishing attempts to steal personal information by prompting you to log in to an online account or system. So, say you get an email from Microsoft, what looks like Microsoft, and it's asking you to log in or click a link to log into your OneDrive account to view a file. And it looks like Microsoft on the website, but it's not really Microsoft. And the threat actor now has your credentials.
And once they have your credentials, they're in your system.
Yes.
Oof. Okay. Well, what about BEC, the next one here? How does this one work?
Yeah, BEC or business email compromise impersonates trusted individuals to trick you into sending money or confidential data. So a threat actor could impersonate your CEO or your manager and asking you to complete an urgent wire transfer. So one example is, say you get an email from what looks like your CEO saying, "Hey, are you available? I'm about to get on a plane. I need you to complete an urgent task for me." So, of course, you respond back, "Sure, happy to help." Then the threat actor responds with information, "Hey, can you complete this wire transfer to this address for me?" So they're trying to catch you off guard to bypass traditional company policies in that moment.
Gotcha. And it's really, preying on, human emotion in some aspects there, where we're all vulnerable if we're not careful.
Definitely. And one recent tactic that threat actors are using is using what looks like an email chain where, say, they have what looks like a previous email thread in that email. So saying the CEO is emailing you, saying they're approving a wire transfer. You're saying, "Okay, I'll get it done." And it looks like you just forgot about this email thread, like, "Oops, I must have missed this," or completely forgot. So they're also preying on that as well to try to get you to take action. preying on your emotions and sense of urgency to get you to bypass company policies.
Well, I've never been a fan of threat actors, but this one really gets me because I can imagine myself, feeling under stress if if I thought that I'd missed an email chain that involved our CEO or vice president. That is a really sneaky tactic, and I'm glad we're making this something that everybody can be aware of. Now I see here on the slide it shows malware. Back in the early days of phishing, malware delivery was like one of the most common things, but it seemed to wane a little bit. It's interesting to see this one back again. What do we know about malware as one of the main types that's coming out right now?
Yeah, so malware distributes malicious code through deceptive links or attachments or even QR codes.
Oh, wow. So once that malicious code is deployed, is it something that could give a threat actor, access to data, or it could just be access to your systems, or it could be stealing data, or exfiltrating data from systems, or just hanging out in systems,
Yeah,
sometimes
definitely. Depending on the
knowingly?
type of malware, it could definitely do that.
Oh,
And yeah, they could also be present through QR codes as well. That's another tactic that we're seeing. One example is say you get a QR code email. It looks like it's coming from your HR department asking you to review employee handbook or benefits information by using this QR code. So you take your phone, scan the QR code, and now you're compromised.
wow. And so generative AI tools are making this cheaper, faster, easier for threat actors to make all of those different types more difficult to spot. What are some of the
Definitely.
things that our customers should probably be doing if they haven't done already in terms of preparing their employee base for an AI world?
Yeah, so everyone's being pushed to use AI more to save time and try to save money, but this is also causing unsafe practices. So we really recommend that organizations establish AI policies, working closely with their legal team and communicating this to their employees so they're aware of what technologies they can use and how they can use them. So all AI chatbots have a history of leaking data. So it's really important to handle sensitive data carefully and don't just blindly copy and paste data into ChatGPT, for example.
Gotcha. So understanding that, and I think that most people that are, on the internet even a little bit have run into AI generated content. Some of it's easier to tell than others. In this new AI world, then what do we need to be looking for at a suspicious email? When an email hits your mailbox, what should we be looking for, understanding that the indicators of a fish might be very subtle or not really visible at all in some cases?
Yeah, so I always recommend pausing and assessing each email carefully because especially with the rise of AI generated content, it can be so hard to tell if an email is legitimate or not, especially when they're impersonating trusted brands. Microsoft was identified by our team as the top impersonated brand as well, which is a service that many companies use. So we recommend stopping and looking at the sender address and looking closely at that email domain because a lot of times threat actors use lookalike domains where they might have one letter out of place. For example, it could be Microsoft dash invoice or something that's slightly different. But if you're
Mhm.
moving fast, then
You
you
might
might
not
want to
notice,
miss
right?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also
So,
recommend.
oh, forgive me. I was just gonna say I was really interested on this. You've got the third thing here. The third bullet says consider the context. And then below that, it says urgency. So neither one of these are saying anything about how the email itself looks, or even the words in the email or images embedded in the email. Talk to me a little bit about context and urgency and how that can help us in a world where phishing emails start to look perfect.
Yeah,
Almost.
so considering the context is huge, say you normally get attachment emails from a vendor for invoices, but this time they're sending you one through Microsoft OneDrive and saying it's overdue, we need this payment. So they're appealing to a sense of urgency and also using a different method than usual for invoices. So in these cases, we recommend checking with the vendor or sender directly using a chat or phone call or emailing them directly instead of just replying to that email in question. Because if you reply to the suspicious email, you're emailing the threat actor directly.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Makes sense. Well, are there any threats that are somewhat novel that have started coming up in terms of what we wouldn't have think of as like traditional phishing attacks, whether that be malware, credential phishing, social engineering, etc.?
Yeah, so one recent one, ClickFix, was first identified in 2024, and this threat delivers malicious scripts without downloading any files. So it tricks users into running the scripts themselves, often through fake CAPTCHAs or verification steps that manipulate the keyboard. So looking at this example right here, it's impersonating a potential hotel guest, targeting the hospitality industry with a YouTube link asking, wow, does your staff really do this to the guests? And it looks like a YouTube link. So, of course, you want to click to see what's going on here. And if you click, it takes you to what looks like a YouTube page asking you to complete a CAPTCHA, verify you're not a robot. But
So most
stop.
of us do this all the time. Like we end up on a web page and have to prove we're not a robot. Like
Yeah.
how many times do you unthinkingly click that button, right?
Yeah.
And go forward. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, stopping to look at this address bar, to look closely at the URL, you can see it's not really YouTube, it's youtube-watch.com. So that's one indicator. If you're ever unsure, just always go back to check that URL. In this instance, for this example, if you click that checkbox, then you're prompted to complete these verification steps, which if you follow through with these, it would compromise your device. So our takeaways here are: do not follow instructions on sites that ask you to copy and paste and run commands. Immediately get off that site and contact your IT security team.
And also it sounds like if you look at the instructions here, anything that's going to ask you to pull up a command line and start running things should raise some red flags. But this is
Yes.
especially if you really want to see if they've tailored this video link to be something that I really want to know what people are accusing my staff of doing in a hotel. Once again, it's that urgency. It's that context where it's trying to hijack your higher faculties about thinking critically, because this could be really bad. I'll do whatever I can to get to that link. And they've got you. Okay. What's probably the best way? I mean, this is complex and difficult and maybe different than what folks have seen in the past. What would be the best way to sort of get this in front of a learner population to make them aware of this?
Yeah, so we have this content available in our PhishMe product where you can simulate the threat directly using an email template and landing page. And we also recommend sending out awareness newsletters to educate your employees on recent threats as well that they could be receiving in the future.
This is quite different than just making up a threat and sort of saying it out to people for general awareness. What you're talking about is like really targeted, very specific. This is a new threat you need to be aware of. It might not look exactly the same, but somebody could use a version of this. It might not even be at a YouTube style domain, but some other prove you're a human CAPTCHA. Oh, I need you to do one more step, one more verification. And as they walk you through complying with their requirements, all of a sudden they got you. Okay.
Yeah, and we recommend always using real phishing emails as part of your simulation efforts as well. Especially if you can use emails that are targeting your organization that have been identified by your SOC or IT security team. In PhishMe, we also have filters as well where you can drill down by your industry and secure email gateway. So that helps you be able to closely imitate threats that your employees are likely to receive and educate them on how they can prevent falling for scams like this.
So training at the email level is one thing. It's going to also extend into other training materials, like you've already mentioned infographics, videos. We have e-learning options as well. What are some of the best practices that folks should be following here?
Yeah, so you really just have 8 seconds to grab someone's attention. And if you can't grab their attention, they won't pay attention and learn. So, since we're working with such a small window here, we recommend trying to use familiar themes that they already recognize, like maybe a popular TV show, movie, referencing a holiday to help try to grab their attention, keep them on the page.
Yeah, most folks' idea of fun is not taking cybersecurity awareness training. However, uh, being able to make it as accessible as possible and as interesting as possible to keep that attention span so you can deliver that learning objective has got to be critical. But when you take these best practices and apply them from a topic perspective, do you have some examples of some of the topics that would be covered and maybe like modes of covering them?
Yeah, so here are some of the top topics that we're seeing: finance, travel assistance, response emails coming through. Response ones are actually the most dangerous because they're really hard to spot.
In the response ones, those are the ones you talked about before, where it would look like you were in the middle of a email chain that you
Yeah,
forgot about.
correct.
It's
And
moving on without you.
threat actors can also CC managers, CEOs to make it look more legitimate as well. So, CC'd executives don't always confirm legitimacy. So that's a popular tactic as well to be aware of.
Gotcha. You see the theme of uh, the fear behind human decision making that can really motivate you to take a shortcut and make a potentially bad decision.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways that you can train on this from a you just gave an idea of like where these top topics are taking place. How do you do that beyond email? How do you deal with it beyond email?
Yeah, so we have a new topic series in FishMe where we have infographics, videos, interactive HTML education, and they're also filled with real phishing examples for that threat and topic. So here's one imitating a team notification with a notification you've been assigned to a new team, as well with some best practices to take away.
Gotcha. So, but it's not all about email, even as a threat, right? There are some security practices that we really need to consider that can allow intrusion from a threat actor that aren't even vectored by email at all. Uh, what are some of those things that everybody should keep in mind this during Cybersecurity Awareness Month and beyond?
Yeah, so one of our top recommendations is to use strong and unique passwords on each account. Don't reuse passwords. And we also recommend using a password safe or a password manager as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was a game changer once I was able to have my own password vault and have super complex passwords spread across all these different identities. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, and one more thing on this one, if you look at that URL, you can see it's not really Microsoft in this example. So always look at that URL in the address bar to see if it's legitimate. And also another indicator as well, if you're trying to log in and it doesn't autofill, but it typically does, that's another huge red flag.
Gotcha. Are there other ways to protect your identity besides super strong passwords?
Yes, we recommend using MFA, multi-factor authentication, and protecting your account recovery information. So MFA actually stops most credential phishing attacks. So we recommend implementing it wherever possible and wherever it's available as well. We recommend using an app or thumbprint for MFA because text message verification is too insecure for MFA. If it's the only option available, then we recommend still doing it. But since text messages can be so easily intercepted, it's not the most secure method.
Gotcha, gotcha. I've been guilty, but like you said, sometimes SMS may be the only MFA offering available, but yeah, when available, use an app. So,
Yeah.
like, what are Google Authenticator is one of the apps that you could use. Um, th this is something that you would look for from the person with whom you're trying to verify your identity, so the provider would be able to offer that support in that regard.
Yeah, or you could have your own app as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
And one more thing to note on this is that only accept verification if you're actively trying to log in, because there's also another method where threat actors kind of flood your device with verification requests and try to just get you to, okay, all right, log in to make it go away. And then they now have access to your device. So only accept it if you're actively trying to log in.
So the vigilance that you need is not just going to be tied to uh, emails, but also to any type of communication that can come through your sort of ecosystem of tech that's trying to verify your identity. That's super interesting. Um, when we do though look at emails, we've talked a little bit about urgency. What are a few takeaways that we really want everybody to come back from this webinar understanding in this new environment?
Yeah, urgency is so common in phishing emails. They're trying to catch you in a moment where you are in the mindset where you see an urgent email, you want to immediately take action. They're appealing to your emotions here and also sense of wanting to fulfill your job duties. So the more an email is telling you to rush, the more you really should slow down and assess. Look for indicators of a phish. If anything at all seems unusual or off, maybe a weird tone from a coworker you communicate with every day, and the way that the email is worded just doesn't really sound like them, that's a red flag. And just reach out to them directly using Slack or call them, walk over to their desk, make sure it's legitimate. And if anything at all is off, just report that email immediately so your IT security team can take action.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And then, some of the work that's handled by your information security teams inside your company, but there's still some things that you can do as well in terms of reducing your exposure to vulnerabilities that might be a doorway for a threat actor to get into. What are some of the things that we could share in terms of actions we can all take to make ourselves safer?
So we recommend reducing your vulnerabilities by updating your devices and software. $1 million breaches have been tied to missed software updates. So always follow your organization's policies around updating your devices and software. We also recommend auditing your apps and software, both from a personal and an organizational perspective. From a personal perspective, from time to time, just taking a look at the apps on your phone, for example, do you really need all these apps? And what permissions are they asking from you? And from an organizational perspective, auditing your apps and software. And for example, say only one employee uses this software every 6 months. Is it really necessary? Because you could save time and money and also reduce your attack surface.
Makes perfect sense. These are great, great recommendations. So if we wanted to consolidate everything that we've talked about in this time, and it's been super fun, down into three things, um, we would say that our threat landscape is constantly evolving. We have a lot of different, to your point, attack surfaces that as our tech grows for things to make things more convenient for us, it also potentially exposes us to new ways to be taken advantage of by a threat actor. Um, since we are the company, Cofense is the one who founded with PhishMe. We are always going to be out there telling you to look for indicators of a phish. And then, Beth, to your point, you made around AI, but around context as well. You could get a phishing email that doesn't have any real visible indicators. There are going to be new technologies out there that put you into context where they're asking you to do something dangerous. Companies need to make sure they have good policies in place, and all of us need to make sure that we follow those policies so that we're not, I think to your example, wiring $1 million out of the country, based on a hyper realistic deepfake or business email compromise. So, Beth, thanks a ton for going through this with me. It was super interesting, and I think we're going to have some time for QA now.
Yeah, thank you, Lee and Beth, so much. That was such an insightful conversation, and I think everyone probably got a lot of value out of that. Let's go ahead and kick off the Q&A portion now. So I have a few questions already here from the audience. The first one is, have you noticed that certain mediums for educational content are more successful than others? So videos versus other types of mediums. Can you guys kind of discuss that a little bit?
Beth, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, so we've noticed with Fish Me education in particular, which is the education you see if you fall for a phishing simulation email. The shorter, the more concise, the better. And like we mentioned before, trying to reference a popular TV show, movie, holiday, trying to grab their attention to keep them on the page. We recommend infographics, short videos. Those are really popular and we found that have resonated with learners in that Fish Me simulation education. We also recommend yeah, short videos. We have a new claymation video series that explores the motivations behind why people click. So exploring topics like fear, urgency, and looking at things like job function as well with real world examples.
Some of our customers too, extend that beyond using some of the infographics that Beth and her team have written to put them up in the break room so that it becomes part of corporate culture. It's not just about security awareness training culture, right? Or your program. It's about what it means to work at your company. Insinuate being a safe employee into being an employee. So make those the same thing, right?
Awesome. Thank you both. Another question I have here is, are there certain training strategies that organizations should be looking to use when it comes to these new AI-driven threats specifically?
Beth, do you mind if I take a stab at that one?
Sure.
Yeah, so this sort of follows on from what I was saying before around a real strong culture of awareness. And sort of a pet peeve of mine being in this field for a long time is there's a compliance mindset to training. If you're only doing security awareness training once a year and it's piled in with your other compliance or competency-based trainings that everybody has to do, the chance of you having those learning objectives in the forefront of a learner's mind is really reduced. Often you're just trying to get through your hours of compliance that you have to do in the spring or the fall or whatever time of year it is for you. A really effective security awareness training program has constant touch points, very brief and targeted pieces of information to keep you remembering, to keep it in your consciousness so that you're not trying to remember what was on slide 4 of that e-learning module I took 6 months ago. This is all about how you design that program. So if you use the content styles Beth was talking about before, but you build a program that is ubiquitous, it's part of your workday, but it's not taking up tons of your time, but it's there in your consciousness. This is what's going to help you be a lot safer.
Awesome. Thank you, Lee. I think we have time for one more question. I have one here that says, is hovering over a link still a good recommendation?
Beth,
Yeah,
you take this one.
I can
Yeah.
take this one. So the majority of credential phishing emails use some sort of redirect, or they use a wrapper from your secure email gateway so you can't tell where the link is really going. Threat actors also use shortened links to disguise the link. So while it's still a worthwhile recommendation, it's not foolproof, and we recommend looking for other indicators of a phish as well.
Awesome. That makes a lot of sense. All right, I think that's about all the time that we have for questions today. Any questions that Lee and Beth were not able to address, we will be following up with via email. So thank you to everyone so much for joining today's webinar. I also want to extend a special thank you to Lee and Beth for sharing their expertise and for such an insightful conversation. And I hope everyone has a great Cybersecurity Awareness Month and a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.